Hello and welcome to SOC Unlocked, Tales from the Cybersecurity Front Line. I'm Mick Leach, your host and guide on this exciting journey into the SOC universe. In each episode, I chat with various cybersecurity professionals about the latest in industry news, emerging threats, practical strategies to keep your organization safe, and much more. And today, I'm excited to have on a dear friend of mine, Lisa Tetrault. You are Senior Vice President over at Arctic Wolf for Security Services. Is that right?
That's right, Mick.
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. And I'm so glad to have you on the show. I know that our listeners are going to learn an absolute ton from you. For those that are just tuning in and don't know, Lisa and I have done a couple of things together at different events. We did something in Calgary. We did something else. And I don't know, where was the last one? Where were we?
Vancouver, I think.
Vancouver, yes.
Whistler. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant. So almost always in Canada because you are in the Great White North up there, right?
That's right.
Brilliant. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into cybersecurity, what your current role is, that sort of thing.
Sure thing. Okay, so I've been at Arctic Wolf now for 7 years. In the current role I have, as you had mentioned, is the Senior Vice President of Security Services here at Arctic Wolf. I lead the concierge security team, which is the proactive arm of the business, and the security operations center as well, which is the 24/7 MDR team. And I also lead the incident response DFIR team worldwide across the organization. We are protecting and delighting customers who have trusted us with our services, of course. I just recently actually moved into this role. I had been originally overseeing the global SOC here for a few years at Arctic Wolf, and I just stepped into this expanded role recently, I think about April or May of this year, and it's a really exciting challenge, and I'm grateful for the customers that have trusted us in this service. So I'm responsible now for the MDR and EDR service, as I had mentioned, and across many, many industries. So education, sports, finance, manufacturing. And my role is really focusing on ensuring that we're not only detecting and responding to threats effectively, but we're also doing this scalable and consistent and with that human-centric way. So we always hear about this now with the platforms that are out there, but also adding that human element, which, with SOCs, we know how important that piece is, right? Prior to that, though, I've held several leadership and practitioner roles in security and data network operations over about 2.5 decades, from small startups of about, up to 300 people to large enterprises of companies up to 350,000 people. So,
wow.
Yeah, I've been in the telecom sector, financial services, technology, and strategic outsourcing across my career as a practitioner, as I said, all the way up to leadership roles. So I've done this in Canada and in a global scale for many, many years. I did my bachelor and my undergrad at Western University in computer science, did a lot of programming at that time, did a bit of security courses back in those days, 2.5 decades ago, many, many, many years ago, and did an internship is really where I started and ended up at a bank. And from there, each time I had started in the network operations and just did a side hustle is what I would say in security each time, each role, as I said, as the practitioner, and continued on in many of those journey along the way and ended up at Arctic Wolf about 7 years ago, just over 7 years.
That's fantastic. Now, how big is Arctic Wolf now? I know you guys are a premier elite level managed detection response organization. So folks, if you're listening and you guys are looking for MDR services or need help in that space, certainly give Lisa and the team over at Arctic Wolf a call because you guys are pretty great at that stuff. But how big are you guys now?
We have about 3,600 employees and
Wow.
We have about 10,000 customers.
Wow. All right. Awesome. I love it. I'm so excited that you guys are out there killing it and making the world a safer place. That's certainly why I got into cyber as well. So it's near and dear to my heart. So now let's jump into some questions, right? We're going to we're going to shift this a little bit for our longtime listeners. We got new questions for you because we
Love
heard you. We wanted to change things up a little bit. So now we're going to dig into some new areas as well. So the first question I have for you is what's one recent shift or challenge that the SOC over there at Arctic Wolf has faced, and how is that working for you?
Okay, that's one of the fun questions we're always seeing, right? So one of the biggest shifts I think that we have been seeing is the increasing sophistication of social engineering powered by AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing phishing emails and impersonation attempts that are so well crafted right now, they rival what used to require nation state capabilities.
Yeah.
So, in fact, our latest trend report, and I can send you the link, and you can put it in the show notes if you want. One of the most notable findings was that AI is now surpassing one of the things that most companies are really worried about and the concerns that we have in the organizations. So, like 29% of security leaders are citing AI and large language models and even privacy concerns as the number one concern that they have. And it's surpassing ransomware and malware and data extortion as a concern of theirs. Isn't that crazy?
It is. It is. It's crazy. And here at Abnormal, right, in my day job, right, I
Yeah.
this is exactly the same stuff that we're seeing as well. So I agree. It's good to, we have independent validation from someone else that this
Yes.
continues to be a problem, but I love hearing about it.
I
So,
figured that would be good. And really what that means to our SOC is that we have to double down on the behavior
mm,
analytics and identity based threat detection. So, like as an example, as you know, the voice cloning from social media or podcasts or interviews are using that to target family members or colleagues and generating emergency scenarios, right? And then the deep fake videos or executives or trusted figures are now like we're seeing that being conducted in fraudulent video calls or
mm,
requesting fund transfers or emails, like things like that. They're like real time having those feelings now, instead of having a pre-recorded video in the past, right? So all of those things are really particularly convincing,
mm,
and we're seeing that more and more now, instead of in the past, where it was a little bit more predictive, I guess.
sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It used to be pretty clunky, right? I mean, you could tell, you could take a look at an email and go, oh, that's fake for sure. And these days, it's not as easy.
Yeah, I know Abnormal has some pretty cool capabilities, and that's something that you and your organization have a great product for. So,
Well,
yeah,
thank you.
great.
I appreciate
Mhm.
you saying that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had mentioned AI, right? So you kind of opened this can of worms. Here it's open. Let's get into it. So what's, in your opinion, one of the biggest misconceptions when you hear about AI and cybersecurity, though?
Okay, so one of the things I've recently read was the Gartner's latest report that SOAR is obsolete before plateau, and AI SOC is entering this new peak of inflated expectations, right? So I think they're related. So
Mm.
much of the AI SOC hype is coming from an early stage startup, right? But many of which are claiming the ability to replace humans entirely. I don't think that that's it yet, right? But the
I'm with
industry,
you.
right? But I do think the industry needs a set of tests and metrics to better evaluate these claims. Like
Mm.
in most, if not all of these are aspirations still in the current capabilities. In really, LLMs are specifically not great yet at detecting anomalies. So AI is a long way from where we need it to be. But that being said, like LLMs are a fantastic tool for collating and formatting and summarizing all that information, and even like code creation. And like we can use it as part of a well-designed system that can do significant parts of our SOC workflow. So I don't want to throw it all out and say it's like not useful, because it's really useful. And we're seeing a lot of great strides here. But what I do want to say is, at that point, it's not all full automation yet, right?
Mm.
So let's not get ahead of our skis. I see so much greatness, and we're doing a lot of great things at Arctic Wolf, but we still need those humans. We still need that overlay of those humans, for the correlation and things that machines are not great at doing yet.
I agree. I agree. I
Mhm.
think human in the loop is going to remain important going
Right.
down the line. But so I love that you're pumping the brakes there. Now let me go on the flip side of this though, and instead ask, where have you seen, AI and ML provide actual real value in your environment?
Right. Great question. We have seen a lot of great capabilities come out. We recently announced a partnership with Anthropic to accelerate our development of autonomous socks, which is
Mhm.
exactly, the direction that we need to go in. And that collaboration is really combining the human augmented AI capabilities,
Mhm.
which is exactly what we need to be doing here with our Arctic Wolf Aurora platform. And what that really means for us is it's the first output that we just had was in collaboration with the launch of our AI security assistant to build out and help our customers extract deeper insights from our Aurora platform. So what we did was we had this AI assistant. We used it internally for a long time, and it allowed us to get deeper insights and see all the data and ask it questions and have it all part of our ecosystem. And then we released it to our customers. And that tool met our highest standards of safety, privacy, and performance, because that's like a table stakes, right?
Of
When you're
course.
starting to use AI. And it marked a significant step forward to delivering on the promise of an autonomous SOC. So it's just part of our ecosystem and what we use on a daily basis. It's one of those tools that internally, when we have a large data set or we have something to think about or process, it's the first place we go internally is like, hey, could this autonomous AI or our AI security assistant, can it use it? Can we use it to crunch this information? And I don't recall a time where we couldn't actually use it, and some capability may have some benefit to it. So it's great. It's great for our team. It's great for our customers, and we're seeing a lot of benefit right there.
That's awesome. So what
Mhm.
I'm hearing you say, and keep me honest here,
Mhm.
is that you're largely using AI and ML and having great success at this in terms of augmenting what your SOC analysts are already doing, making their lives a little bit easier. Is that a fair assessment then?
Absolutely. It also adds that extra element of context sometimes, where sometimes it's hard for people to put things into words, right? Just like you added context to what I just said, it also allows that to happen, right?
Yeah, beautifully. And I'll tell you what, I'm guilty of this as anybody is these days. But I use AI constantly, especially generative AI, to help
Mhm.
me write. Whether I'm summarizing something, whether I'm writing something that's going even just internally to a dear friend, or whether I'm saying it out and it's going to be public facing. It's so much better than I am. The way
Yeah.
it writes, the way it speaks. It makes me sound way more intelligent than I deserve. But yeah, I think there's value in all of that.
It's a lifeline for me as well, Mick. I totally use it every day.
I'm glad I'm not, the only one that's doing that, right? Otherwise, this turns into a confession rather than a conversation. That's awkward. But no, so what I loved about that though was that your focus on delivering AI and ML not only is focused on delivering value for your customers, which is important, of course, but it's also about making life better for your analysts. So I kind of want to pivot on that thought because I think there's value here too. I haven't been in a SOC yet that wasn't, working really hard, potentially overworked, and there's challenges of burnout and fatigue, and there's a lot to go on the human side of things. So where you're running an MDR over there at Arctic Wolf, how are you, reducing analyst burnout and alert fatigue and those kinds of things over there?
Yes. So there's a couple of factors. I'll just talk about the high level and then we'll get into the culture because there's a couple of components. So the first thing we need to worry about is ensuring as a SOC that you are worried about the tool management, your integration, your workflow development. You see that everywhere you go. You have to make sure that from an analyst perspective, you are the rules are continually being tuned properly. You can even use AI for that.
Mhm.
You can look at false positive rate. All those things become a lot easier with employing AI? How often has this fired? Can I tune it? Can I do it effectively? Are my tools sitting independently, or can they be integrated? If they're interoperable, it makes the analysts' lives much happier. If you are sitting there doing context switching, analysts are not going to have a happy life. I'll just tell you that for free, right? And if you continually having them context switch all the time, you're going to have a much lower quality of life across the board. So that in itself is just one thing that you have to be very careful on. On a workflow development, having playbooks and workflows add context really helps security teams avoid that time sink of disjointed events. Identifying and providing that context is really not a small task, right? So as change of tools and adding all of that together can be removed, it's like a never ending kind of chore. So like having workflows that make sense is always a quality of life thing. Now, what is really important to me, so those are just like standard things you got to make sure you're doing in a SOC, right? If I look at Arctic Wolf specifically behind the scenes, analyst burnout and the human side of the coin is super important to me. And it all distills down to culture, right? And if I look at what we try to employ specifically, there's a couple of things. So the first thing is we took a step back and we said, we really need to start out with the shift schedule. So we are on a 10-week rotation. We try to minimize the number of swing shifts that people have. And, you could have straight days, straight nights, straight afternoons, a variety, continental shift, whatever that looks like. What we didn't want to have happen is people stay on nights and then not be part of the day shifts. And so we did this 10-week rotation to keep the team happy and engaged. And we built this, week off in the middle of that 10-week rotation. And you have minimal weekends and minimal nights, but for the most part, everybody is working during core hours. Okay. And that's Monday to Friday. That's just one of the things we did. When they are working, we also tried to give them a variety of work. So while they're on shift, you're not going to sit there and look at a board the whole time. You're not on an 8-hour shift or a 10-hour shift. You are looking at a board for the entire 8 hours. Like that is nothing screams analyst burnout more than just same task over and over again, right?
Amen.
Right. So we tried to give them a variety of different aspects of the role and keep the team engaged. So as there was more things that had to be done in the SOC, we tried to ensure that they had a variety of tasks. So, okay, we need 4 hours of work over here, and we need 4 hours of work over here, and 2 hours of work over here. And that gave them a variety of things to do. And it also stretched their skill set. And that really gave a different look and a different lens at a customer journey. Okay. We also built out a certification program. And this allowed us across the security services organization to understand all the different levels of, what a SOC analyst role and all of the different levels within the SOC, or the different levels in the concierge team, or the different levels in the incident response team, or the technical support team. And because we have the portfolio of all of those, you could go and be certified in any of those areas, and that was completely fine. It's part of our portfolio. You can go and figure out if you like that type of content and that work. And that's great. You can go figure it out. You can get certified and realize that maybe that type of work is not for me. Or you can make yourself eligible candidate to apply for that role by getting certified. So that was really good because it allowed the team to expand their skills through the certification program. We're also a culture of celebrating wins. And by wins, I mean security wins, right? Mm-hmm. And that's from a customer viewpoint. So how was the customer delighted? How do we stop a threat actor in their tracks? How did the customer provide feedback about what they liked about our service? And we celebrate that in a Slack channel. We celebrate that with shout outs and all sorts of things. And that's really building up the culture. We also brought in a Lego program. I have my Lego here.
I love these, by the way. And I specifically asked for Lisa to highlight this. She had to go find the Lego thing.
I did.
So Lisa and I have spoken about this before, just in person at events that and I love it. I love what you're doing and how you get to really build. And so, and keep me honest here, Lisa, that as your analysts grow and mature and get involved in different things, theirs grows as well to show how long they've been there and the status they've attained, that sort of thing.
That's right. So every year of service, they'll get a Lego brick. If they were part of maybe a mega threat that happened or a 0 day,
I love the
they
love
would
for
get.
J-Brick.
That's right. They would get a new Lego brick as part of it. We would call out to customers. You'd be part of that event. You would get a brick. Or if you referred, 5 friends as part of it, you would get a recruitment brick here. You have 5 little friends. And different department. If you moved into a different part of security services, you would get a different brick. So there's all sorts of reasons to celebrate being part of the organization, of the team, and this is really what it's all about, is giving another reason to celebrate. So, it was a good motivator, if you will.
I love it. And so, leaders that are listening, like, I want you to really lean in here because this matters. Okay, the silly things, we take work too seriously sometimes, myself included. I'm guilty of this as well, right? And it's important work and it's serious work, but it doesn't mean we can't have fun. And so the little things like this, I worked, Kim Bain, if you're listening, I love you. Kim Bain was a manager, one of my first SOC manager at a previous company. And we created like the sock monkeys. Have you seen the sock monkeys?
I have.
And so you had to earn your sock monkey. And so you'd see the analysts sitting around who had earned their sock monkey and displayed it like proudly next to their monitor. And then the aspiring analysts that were coming alongside. And once they earned their, we had a ceremony. It was a whole thing, right? It's these silly little things, though, that really create culture. And Lisa and Kim both, such great leaders and identifying, how to motivate and keep things fresh, keep people interested and excited about the work they're doing. So leaders, listen, lean in and listen, because Lisa is doing some really cool stuff over there, Arctic Wolf. Not just this program, but there's more too, right?
That's right. That's right. We have our Alpha Dogs coming up. That is where we recognize the top 1% of the team. So security services, we just announced it in May. And it's our top 1% from last year are going to them, and a +1 are going to on a trip for them and to Nashville, actually, for them.
No way.
Yeah. So we're going to Nashville. That's in October. It's a 5-day trip. And we have a lot of really cool things planned in that 5 days. And it's going to be a great celebration for them and, celebrating them and their accomplishments of what they've accomplished.
That is awesome. I love it. Marketing team, if you're listening, Nashville, October, let's see if we can figure it out. I'd love to pop in and say hello to Lisa and the team. They're killing it down there. So no, that's exciting. I am headed to Nashville for something, I think a CXO Forum event in the coming weeks. I don't know exactly when, but no, that's awesome. I'm so excited. There's really neat things. I will say, like, sales has historically had these kinds of things, like president's clubs and whatever else that they do. I will say we haven't done as good a job of really recognizing and rewarding our top performers in the security space. And many times it's hard to quantify, the challenges that you've overcome or whatever, where we've caught things before it got bad. But that's awesome. I love that you figured out a way to do that and are doing that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's all the senior leadership team really works together on looking at different ways to recognize team members. So I would be remiss if I said it was all my ideas, because they are not all my ideas. The team really comes together when it comes to culture, and culture isn't like an easy bake oven. You can't just like do it once and that's it. You have to all lean into it. So if you're not all on the same page and you're not all continuing to do it over and over again and leaning into it, it's just not going to work. You can't just set it up and that's it, right?
Yeah, can't set it and forget it, right? This is not
Right.
the Ron Popeil of leadership.
That's right.
So leaders, Lisa's over here dropping nuggets of wisdom. I hope you guys are writing some of this stuff down because it's fantastic. So it's really exciting. Now I want to transition a little bit because you're doing so many cool things to keep everybody motivated and excited about the work. Now let's shift gears to maybe how the bad guys are doing things. So maybe what's something new, like a new unexpected threat technique or tactic that's caught your eye, and you have kind of the best visibility for this, being on the front lines for so many of your customers. What have you seen for 2025 that's kind of new and quote unquote exciting?
Sure. So I think it's been long understood that organizations actually face threats from both nation state and hacktivists. And they're both opportunistic and looking to prey on the weak to do damage, right? But now we're kind of at a turning point where we're seeing a rise of collaboration between the two groups. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're trying to accomplish the same goal. And by using hacktivists on the front end from the nation states, hacktivists are starting to do the bidding and to draw attention, while nation state threat actors can achieve their objectives by remaining out of the spotlight. It becomes like a little bit of plausible deniability, which is an interesting series of events now, right?
Yeah.
And ransomware as a service continues to commercialize malicious activities, right? And tactics like double and triple extortion are becoming the norm and now escalating the emotional and operational pressures of victims. And so, like, we're seeing a little bit of that. And I guess attackers are also strategically targeting critical, like really critical infrastructure and supply chains. Like, that is, I think that's more like, you see that anyway, and they're exploiting downtime to drive the urgency. And we put that in the threat report. Happy to share that link as well, so you can put in the show notes if you'd like. I did talk to a colleague of mine, Ishmael Valenzuela. He's amazing. He's also an instructor at SANS. He works in
I took a course from him. He was one of my teachers. Yeah,
there you
brilliant.
go. He works here at Arctic Wolf. He's runs the threat intelligence team here at Arctic Wolf. And when I was talking to him, he said, Lisa, attackers are generally lazy. So the trends that are happening in cybercrime, like we're not seeing a lot of sophistication in the malware, but we do see a lot of novel ways and diversified ways to get in the door. And we kind of talked about that earlier, right? It's everything else seems to be the same, except the way they're coming in is getting a little bit more sophisticated with the social engineering side, right? But as organizations have increased endpoint protection, attackers have to find ways around, and that's really the social engineering side. And I found that to be interesting. One little nugget he did give me, though, I will say is, and it was on a threat briefing that he just had, his team just had, was ransomware groups are operating just like a business, like every other business. And there was one that he just shared was they had actually a misstep with a victim recently, and they blamed an intern. A ransomware group is blaming an intern because they had a miscommunication with one of their victims. So, I mean, they're all making mistakes out there.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
I can't get over the fact that ransomware groups have interns, right? There's internship, right? There's always an intern screwing it up, right?
They do.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
So they're not immune to having interns.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So we've talked a little bit about what we're seeing. How are you seeing threat actors leveraging AI these days, and how are you staying ahead of it?
So I'm going to tell you the biggest concern is AI as a tool. And to democratize and supercharge the social engineering side of it. And it's really more targeted and bespoke social engineering that might have required nation state resources in the past are now, for ransomware gangs. And so we're continuing to focus on credential theft and comprehensive behavioral detection. That's really where we're at. They've always been challenging, but it's more important than ever to really cover the entire attack surface and be able to collate and aggregate all of this data. And like, we're not seeing a lot of agentic AI end to end, but we are seeing parts of the attack chain being automated. That's what we're seeing. Like nation states, they have this whole strategy in collecting information and then finding zero days like in the infrastructure. But we see it on the phishing side where attackers are using LLMs to craft phishing attacks. But we don't see it right now on the malware side in its entirety to create AI. We see it as a tool, right? Yeah. But not the full end-to-end attack. So faster. Things are happening faster, of course, and there's more capabilities, but we're not seeing a lot from like an entire end-to-end attack using AI. So really, I mean, we're trying to stay ahead. We're looking for these patterns. We're using AI as well to catch this, and we're just sticking to the principles of understanding it, trying to protect as much as we can of an estate, of a customer's estate, and focusing where we can on catching what it is that we see.
Okay. No, that makes sense. As some of the things that I'm doing. In fact, I think I missed you in Sydney. We were both there at roughly the same time, and I missed catching up with you, and I'm sorry about that. But I was there with my friend FC. I don't know if you know FC, Freaky Clown, world famous social engineering hacker, dead brilliant. I love him. But one of the things we were doing is, we were showing how you can leverage AI to automate huge chunks of the life cycle, right? The attack life cycle. And we were able to do that. But to your point, right, even the actions on objectives, there are certain aspects. I haven't seen anything automated truly from end to end yet. Now, It's not to say it won't come, but we're not there quite yet either. So interesting. Awesome. All right, so let me switch gears here a little bit, and I want to jump, because in our world, in security operations especially, metrics drive everything, right? It's how you can't manage what you don't measure, they always say, and so it's important that we capture metrics. So what metrics do you rely on and show the impact of the SOC services over there at Arctic Wolf?
Sure. Okay. So there's a whole ton that you can look at. And from like a business perspective, you're always looking at net retention, customer satisfaction, churn, NPS, SLOs. And that's from like an internal perspective, what I care about from a customer, like if I look out into the business. But really what I care about is from a customer perspective, when I'm looking at is really critical asset coverage, right? I need to make sure I am looking at all the critical assets. If I'm looking at how am I performing for the customers, it's really near misses. How many times have I taken containment actions, active response actions for our customers? And really the things that are, value add moments are things that I care about right now. So those are more difficult to quantify, but I think about like the times that we have delighted our customers and things that we can show that we have and that we can do more of like value. So when a customer tells us that we hit something out of the park, I care about that. When a SOC called out to us because we had a user download malicious file and it was not intended to be downloaded, and I was about to go into a meeting to justify the security spend, and you just called me out of the blue, and lo and behold, like that was the best phone call I could have had because I was walking into the meeting. Like that would be a value add moment. And so like I can give you all the SOC data. I can talk to you about how much we've automated plus the human overlay. Like I can talk to you about all of those things, but really I care about what is the value that our customers are getting from us, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day unless they're getting value. So those are the things that right now show me that we are doing the right thing by our customers today. but again, like the business metrics are all there. I mean, I can list them off. I mean, you can go to ChatGPT and say, what are the right metrics? I probably have it. Like I got about a bazillion metrics in our portfolio, and each level of management has to worry about each different one. But like, if I just distill it down to one metric or a couple of metrics that I really care about, it's like, near miss, of course you care about compromises, of course, like all of these things and how could we have done better, but like I really care about the value that we're adding to customers so I can do that more.
Okay. I love that. So if I'm hearing you right, it's kind of transitioning the story to be less about the data itself
That's
and
correct.
more about value, and really make, and so security leaders, this is an area where candidly we fall down to some extent, where we don't do as great a job. We focus too much on all of the details, all of those numbers of the number of attacks and the number of investigations we performed and the number of vulnerabilities, right? These are all data points we all track. Yes, of course you have to. But the real story is, what value did the security team add? What value did they provide to the company or to the customers at the end of the day?
That's absolutely right, Nick.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. I've got a couple more areas that I really want to tackle here, because you had mentioned you have this full built-out incident response group as well. So one of the things we talk about here on this podcast is a lot around like storytelling and what happened, crazy stuff. So how have you guys trained for threats that haven't happened yet?
Okay, so if I was talking to a general customer, I'd say ensure that you've got basic in-house cybersecurity training across the board and make sure everyone is on the same basic cyber hygiene training knowledge to, reporting your phishing campaigns. And while this has its benefits, like tabletops, like could have like great exercises, because it gets you prepared. It also identifies weaknesses, right? But I really think that we have to consider the environment and the culture that we are instilling and growing within the company, right? If we don't have a safe environment to report when someone has made a mistake with an approachable IT team, a Slack channel where the team can ask a question that is safe to the security team or others, like a community of practice there. If we don't have that community of cyber safety across the company and rewarding it, then I think we're going to be challenged, right? Making it safe environment for people is really important. In the SOC, I think we need to ensure that everyone has the basic principles in troubleshooting. Like, do you know how to critically think? Do you have the basic tools to navigate the unknown? How would you navigate if an issue that you had faced was completely out of left field, right? Who would you bring in that situation? How would you collaborate? What's the process that you would follow? And like, we have to start stretching the team members into that uncomfortable situation, which we do. And when they do that, all the things start to fall in place. Are they good with the tools that they have? Are they at their fingertips? Where was the context switching? How could that have taken away? Was there an ego at play that we need to coach somebody on, right? I have a team member here actually in Canada that anytime he finds something that he's never touched before, seen before, he stands up in the SOC, literally stands up and says, I found something really cool. Who wants to see this? Of course, we're already in like a secured area, but it's because it's something new and he wants to show and teach other people, but he doesn't necessarily know what he's about to get into or see, but it's because it's so unique and novel. It's an area that people can grow and learn, and we can all get together and make it a community of practice to learn, right? And so to me, it's fostering that culture, and that's what makes us all better, right? Do you have the skills? Do you have the capabilities? Do you have the framework? Do you have the safeties, like, to be able to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. For too long, at the risk of getting on a soapbox here for a moment, I think the security teams have largely been sort of the department of no. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do this. No, you can't install that software. We wouldn't do a great job of partnering with the business to understand the the aims, why, and ask questions. Why do you want to do this? What goal are you trying to achieve? And better partnering with the different areas of the business, and being a value add capability for the business. That's the goal for security at the end of the day anyway, is to help build the business, and allow it to work more efficiently and more safely. And so I love everything you're talking about here, because I think that's really important, is to ask those questions, create an area where it's okay to say, I don't know, create an area where it's safe to say, hey, something just happened, or I even just did something. I don't know what I was thinking, but I did a thing, and now my computer's acting weird, or something happened. But when you create this adversarial relationship between the security department, especially SOCs, and the rest of the business, what you're doing is shutting down lines of communication instead of fostering them.
Absolutely. And I think even like CISA kind of led the way, right, in trying to be more informative and like a body of information. And like over like when Jen Easterly was
Mm-hmm.
in office there, right? Like they even have CISA can run like tabletop exercises out there for businesses too, right? Like they're trying to change that persona that they have. And like we can all really take those brick walls down and start again, like you say, instead of saying the Department of No, say the Department of, let me help you get there, right? It's about being more secure over and over and iterating, I think, over time. And I think over like it's all about just getting a little bit better every day, just a little bit stronger, a little bit more secure. And I think over time, it makes a material difference.
I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm going to shift gears one last time,
Okay.
and ask questions. One of the things we love to do on this particular podcast, there's undoubtedly someone listening going, oh my gosh, everything you're talking about is so cool. I want to work at, Arctic Wolf or in cybersecurity, or I want to be the alpha dog, the alpha wolf at
Yep.
the next offsite next year. How do I get there? So career advice.
Ooh.
You've been around a good long time. I've been around for a few minutes in the industry. Whether it's certifications, is it formal schooling, right? Do you go to college? Do you just study on your own? Do you join Hack the Box and try Hack Me? What works for you, and what sets people apart at Arctic Wolf in terms of the folks you're hiring? What advice would you offer someone that says, I want to do this?
I think the best thing that we see come through is people that have the aptitude to learn. They put themselves out there. Uh, they go and they really try. They show up. They might be at a conference, volunteering even. Uh, we take on career pivots as well. That's
Mhm.
another avenue in. Um, Really, someone with a passion of cyber and wanting to learn. And I don't know that we look for anyone specifically that like is in a box, okay? Because that's not the perfect cyber professional. We care about people that can think critically. We look for people that are ready to take on a challenge, that have the right skills, capabilities, that are willing to grow, right? Like there's not a perfect person. It's the right attitude, it's the right personality. I don't even know if it's a personality. It's really the drive. It's the
Mhm.
drive and willing to show up in an environment and say, like, I don't know, but I'm going to go figure that out, right?
Mhm.
And as I said, it's like the person that will put their hand up and say, you want to see something cool, or I just found this, and willing to teach each other and be team players. I think that's really the people that we're looking for here at Arctic Wolf. We're really striving to help customers get better in this environment and guide them. And this is really, we're a pack. And if you're not a team player, you're not going to make it, right?
Yeah.
Uh, that's really what we are. So it's hard to say specifically what it is that we're looking for, more than it's your aptitude, to learn, your attitude, and really your desire and passion is really what we're looking for. So it could be, 7 of 10 things versus, all 10.
Yeah.
But, being showing up and, being ready to learn and eager and capable is really what we're looking for.
I love that. And without even realizing it, you may have probably just encouraged a whole bunch of people because, particularly as it relates to the box, right? You don't look for some, you know, defined formula of
Mhm.
what makes up a SOC analyst. Oh, you have to have had, you have to had come from the network, space,
Mhm.
where you were a network admin, or you had to do these things before you can get into here. So many of my guests that come on this podcast talk similarly about, listen, there's no one route into cybersecurity, and
Mhm.
neither is it a straight line either. Many folks take all these crazy ways to get in, and then they're better for it.
That's right. I mean, I have a substitute teacher that did a career pivot. I have an
Love
HVAC
it.
team member that came in through that path. We have electricians that came in, and some of them are tier 3 analysts now. I mean, we also have traditional paths.
Sure.
So, it's totally fine. And what we really like is when we can hire in cohorts, because when we put a traditional path with a non-traditional path together, the way they think together and bounce ideas off of each other is incredible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love hearing that. It made me think one of the best SOC analysts I ever had an opportunity to hire, Kurt Grossman. If you're listening, it's you. Was a copier repairman. He had joined us. He had worked at Xerox for like 18 years
Whew.
and was in school taking a cybersecurity class, and then ended up getting a degree in cybersecurity. But he said, I want to try something new, and I like I like trying to understand what the problem is and diagnosing the problem. I was like, wow, yes, it's very different, but to your point earlier, in terms of critical thinking skills, if you can break down the problem and work backwards from this is the problem, how do we solve that problem? The reality is a lot of that translates to a SOC.
That's right.
So
That's
anyway,
right.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Because that's going to be really encouraging for folks
For sure.
that want to get into what we're doing.
Yeah, that's great.
Cool.
More the
All right.
merrier. I mean, there's 25%, gaps filled out there in
Absolutely.
cyber. Lots of roles available.
Yeah. You guys hiring right now?
Yes, we are. Of course we
As
are.
are we. As are we. So
There we
folks,
go.
if you're looking for a job and you come take a look, there's many others too. So this is a great place to get to work in cybersecurity. Lisa, first, I just want to say thank you on the front end here. This has been so much fun, but I will ask you one last question, and it's simply this. We've had a great discussion. It's ranged all over the place, as all of these discussions typically do. But if our audience can only take away one thing from our discussion, what would you have that be for them?
What would I have them take away? I would have them stay vigilant, right?
Mm,
And really, each and every day, think about how you can contribute back
mm,
to the cyber world. Actually, this is an ever evolving landscape here, and if you're still hesitant on the AI side, I think you need to lean in, because this isn't going away. And I really think we all have to learn a little bit every day, but we have to be vigilant out there. So,
couldn't agree more. Couldn't
Yep.
agree more.
Do it.
Awesome. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. In terms of giving back, this is your way of doing that, because I know how busy you are, and I know how important you are to the team over there at Arctic Wolf. And so I'm so grateful that you chose to spend some time with our listeners today. So wish you the very best of luck. I will see you, I think, next week in person, which would be great. Good to see you again.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. And so, folks, this has been SOC Unlocked, Tales from the Cybersecurity Frontline. I'm your host, Mick Leach, and reminding all of our cyber defenders out there that, you've got to keep fighting the good fight. You are the tip of the spear, so stay sharp. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Be sure to like and subscribe and check out our other SOC Unlocked episodes. Other than that, we'll see you next time. And with that, we'll simply say goodbye, friends.